All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, how you're unknowingly destroying your marriage. So, guys, I think this is one of the most important podcasts I've ever done on this podcast. Um, Comes from a book called This Is How Your Marriage Ends. I'll reference that several times through this, but would definitely recommend picking that book up along with mine if you haven't picked mine up. But this one, it just hit me in a really important way. And I think you just need to know this. You need to know if you're in this pattern, you got to break out of it right away. He calls it the invalidation triple threat in his book. And man, reading it, I realized I've been doing it. And my wife was distancing herself, and she was saying stuff like, "You're not listening, and you are, you're being too selfish, and you are, we should go to therapy." And really, it kind of hit me to where, whoa, like she's closer to not wanting to be in this marriage than really being excited about it, is what I was able to understand from this. And maybe that sounds weird. It's kind of hard to admit that, like having just put this book out and all of that, but that's the truth. So that's why I feel this like emergent need to share this with you guys. But to start off with, so my name is Mike Frazier. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. And again, this is like one of the better ones to listen to for this. So please share this with your friends, family, kids, right? Whoever, like this is a really important one. So guys in the program are doing great. And this is going to go into the program too, like this concept of the invalidation triple threat. Next week's about really delighting your wife's going to go into there. It's all in there, but I guess it was just kind of like waking up and presenting it in a new way for me that helped a lot. So yeah, guys are impressed with their husband's program commitment and improvements, and they're wanting to get involved in something similar. So this is one of the best things that happen. Like when you take the lead, when you decide you're going to change, often that invites your wife to also make changes, which is great. One gentleman shared this really cool kind of scene of him, walking on the beach, holding hands with his wife, holding his wife close, feeling the ocean breeze. Man, it's like just this beautiful image, and really what a lot of guys say they want when they come into the program. So it's cool to see this gentleman experience that and have that special moment with his wife. Guys are having more physical affection, hugs, kisses, sex, right? And for me, just again, this big breakthrough that I'm going to share with you guys today. So again, this book, it's called How Your Marriage Ends by Matthew Frey. We definitely recommend picking it up, pick up the audiobook, listen to it if that's easier for you. So this is a divorced guy. As far as I know, he's still divorced, not remarried, has a kid. And he's just looking back on how his marriage ended. He really kind of dug into it. Smart guy, a high achieving guy, right? I don't think he's Christian, but definitely a high achieving guy. So he coins this term, the invalidation triple threat. Basically what that is your wife says something to you, and we're going to give some examples today. You tell her that she's wrong to think that, okay? You also tell her she's wrong about how she feels, and maybe she's kind of immature, or she should just be more like you and deal with her emotions better. And then you justify why your actions were right or correct, and how really like she's wrong. Like you're not really doing anything to hurt her. You're not really doing anything to invalidate her. So it's a triple threat because it's like those three things where you tell her thoughts are wrong, you tell her feelings are wrong, and you justify your actions to her, basically telling her she can expect you to keep hurting her over time. So let's give it an example here. He talks about too, like this need for us as men often to be right in conversation. So again, an example is going to help just illustrate this. So let's use the example of this is one from my life, right, in my marriage. So I drink a protein shake for breakfast pretty much, every morning. The way I make it's just water and protein powder. And so once I'm done with it, the protein powder kind of sticks to the cup. And it looks kind of gross, and it kind of smells kind of gross. And my wife a lot of times has asked me to clean that, right? Kind of rinse it out and, get that protein powder off before I put it on the sink so it doesn't all get there and gross and sticky, right? So, she's asked me to do that. And so, what I do is invalidate her, right? I say something like, it's not a big deal, right? This shouldn't bother you, okay? So problem one is I'm telling her she's wrong in what she's thinking. So she thinks I should clean that out, right? That it's kind of gross. I tell her, no, she's wrong. Like, it's not gross. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm telling her her thoughts are wrong. So, and then she's like, well, hey, like, it's just important to me. It's bothering me that you won't do this. And so I think what happens with this invalidation triple threat too is wives often either don't recognize what they're trying to express, or they're not quite sure how to express it, or maybe they have expressed it and it's just kind of vulnerable. But really what she's saying is like, hey, like, I've asked you to do this and it's important to me, and you keep saying you won't do it, and so I feel like I'm not important to you, and that's hurtful to me. That's really what she's saying. But usually it doesn't come across that way. Usually she just says something like, well, look, I've asked you lots of times and you just still don't do it, right? It's frustrating, makes me sad, right? Yeah, kind of what she's saying is, I'm not a priority, I'm not important to you, but we don't hear that, right? We just hear she's making a big deal about the cup, and the cup doesn't matter, and so she shouldn't care about it, right? So maybe she says, I'm frustrated, and you're like, well, you shouldn't be frustrated. You should just learn how to deal with having that dirty cup, and if you want to clean it, you should clean it, okay? Which leads to invalidation 3. So I've told her what she thinks is wrong, okay? The cup's not a big deal. I've told her what she feels is wrong. You shouldn't be frustrated because, yeah, you need to change your thinking and just decide it's not a big deal. And then the last part is for me to just justify myself. Look, like, I drink a protein shake. I'm healthy. I do the work. I paid for that. The protein powder and the cup and the water that's coming out of here by paying the utilities. So yeah, like, if you want it clean, you should just do it yourself, right? So, and maybe I say that out loud, or maybe I'm just thinking it, but either way, by continuing to not do it, I'm basically telling her, like, I'm not doing it, so do it yourself. But again, kind of what we're missing in this is her really saying, hey, like, you're hurting me by showing me you don't care, right? So over and over again, you're showing her, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. You can ask me, I don't care. I don't care what's important to you. I'm going to keep hurting you. And even if one day she shares with us, hey, like, it hurts my feelings that you won't clean that cup, right? Probably either in our minds or directly, we'll say something like, well, it shouldn't hurt your feelings. I'm not doing it to hurt you. I just don't care about the cup. I care about you. I just don't care about the cup. And that's like the whole problem, right? That's the invalidation triple threat. That's us saying, she's saying, hey, it hurts me. It hurts me. You're not washing the cup. It hurts me. And you're like, it doesn't hurt you. It shouldn't hurt you. And then you just keep hurting her. Okay? It's like kicking her, like kicking her in the stomach, right? And she's like, ow, that hurts. You're like, well, that shouldn't hurt. I didn't kick you very hard. Like, my kids do this to each other. Like, one of them hits the other one, and then they're like, then the kid's like, ah. Then you're like, oh, that didn't hurt. Even I've said this to the kids, oh, that didn't hurt, because they didn't punch them that hard, or they weren't trying to punch them, or whatever. Or like, they poke them, they're like, well, I didn't mean to. And the other kid's like, ah, my eye. And then the kid's like, well, I didn't mean to do it, so you shouldn't be hurt. No, like, they got hurt. And so your job is to not do that again, whether it's intentional or not. Okay? If you're waving your arms around and smacking people, you need to take responsibility and stop waving your arms around. Okay? So even if it's not your intention to hurt your wife by not washing that cup, I'm talking to myself here, right? This is my example. You're still hurting her. Okay? And so the more times you say to her, this shouldn't hurt you, this shouldn't hurt you, it's like kicking her or slapping her, right? Or flicking her in the face and just saying, like, that shouldn't hurt, that shouldn't hurt, that shouldn't hurt. Like, how long is it going to take her to just stop saying it? And then you're like, okay, finally, yeah, she doesn't care. But really, she just realizes you don't care and she's withdrawing, right? Maybe for a while she becomes more upset about, like, why can't you just do this one thing? And really what she's really saying is, dude, you're hurting me, stop hurting me, like, do this so that I know you actually care about me, right? Toilet seat, another good example from my own marriage too, right? So she's like, hey, put the toilet seat down so I don't fall in at night, right? I'm like, well, you should just check it, right? Just check it yourself. Okay? I pay for the toilet seat, I pay for all this, right? It's just, and these conversations, they just happen over and over and over, to where your wife just feels totally like you don't care, because you don't, and you keep hurting her. You tell her she's wrong to think that way. You tell her she's wrong to feel that way. You tell her it shouldn't bother her. You keep hurting her and tell her it shouldn't hurt. Okay, so yeah, she's going to pull away and she's going to stop wanting to talk to you over time. Okay, it doesn't happen overnight, right? It's like one grain of sand at a time that finally tips the scale, or like straw, and then there's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and she's like, I'm out. And you're like, whoa, what happened? Like, I don't get it. It's these things, right? They built up over time. Okay, so another example with the kids. So, we can do this invalidation triple threat with the kids too. And it's really just understanding where this pattern leads. Where does this pattern conversation lead? So you can do it, right? You can tell your wife she's wrong. You can tell her she needs to think a different way. You can tell her it shouldn't hurt her that you don't wash the cup. But what happens is she stops feeling safe and doesn't really want to be around you that much. Okay, that's the natural consequence of this behavior in this pattern. Okay, in this thought pattern. Okay, we talk in the program about thoughts, feelings, actions, intentions. So here the thought is, I know better and you're wrong. The feeling's superior. The action is to, tell her she's wrong and she needs to think differently and tell her you're not hurting her. Your intention maybe is to help, but really it's like change her mind, which doesn't work and is controlling and manipulative and superior and problematic and just drives her far away from you. Either physically through a separation or divorce, or definitely mentally, emotionally, and probably physically as far as sexually, right? Because she doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel like you value her. Yeah, she's not going to want to open up her body to you. Okay, so you can do this with the kids too, and I've done this too. So, and I went and apologized to my wife and my son after I realized this, and it was great. And things are way better just over the last few days since I saw this pattern and I'm catching it and stopping myself. But yeah, with the kids, so this happened just a few days ago. One of my kids said, hey, I'm scared to sleep in my room, right? And so the invalidation triple threat looks like this. Well, hey, this area is safe. I've got alarms on the walls, right? So basically you're wrong to think that way. Say hey, you don't need to be scared, right? There's nothing to be scared of here. So invalidating the feelings, telling her, hey, you're wrong to think that way. And then, yeah, kind of making it about you. Well, you shouldn't be scared. You're getting me out of bed, right? You're keeping me awake. You're keeping your brothers and sisters awake, like guilt tripping them. So, yeah, man, I've done this so many times, and I'm so grateful for this guy for writing this book because, like I said, my wife was telling me she wasn't listening. She was asking for therapy. Maybe we still go, right? I don't mind going and getting some more insight. But I think this is really what she was trying to tell me. And finally I got it and was able to see it because of this book. So thank you, Matthew Frey, for writing this book. So again, what happens, right? Every time you do this, the trust, the safety, it goes away. Your wife feels disconnected. She feels unsafe. She feels like she doesn't matter to you. Okay, she starts feeling alone. Maybe she's irritated. Maybe she starts pointing out more negative things you're doing. The jokes you used to tell, she doesn't think they're funny anymore, right? This was happening to me, right? We were getting here where she was just more irritated with me. And I was like, what did I do, right? I didn't do anything. But this is what I had done, right? This is what I had done for so long. She was just sick of it, right? And she had tried to tell me these things. It just finally connected, through what this was saying, right? The invalidation triple threat. So, and the hard part is your wife, if she does start pointing things out more, if she is more irritated, you can just do the invalidation triple threat more. Well, these are small things, right? It shouldn't bother you. We should be able to get through this. I hear guys say this all the time. One gentleman in particular was like, well, this isn't a reason to divorce, which is just more of the invalidation triple threat. You shouldn't think this way. You shouldn't feel this way. This doesn't really hurt you that much, so deal with it. In other words, I'm going to keep doing this as long as we're married. So how long do you expect someone to stay in that relationship? If over and over again they're being told you're wrong in how you think, you're wrong in how you feel, and I'm going to keep hurting you, right? I'm going to keep showing you you're not important to me. I'm going to keep doing things that really do hurt your feelings and just tell you it shouldn't hurt. I'm going to keep kicking you over and over and just telling you it shouldn't hurt. Yeah, eventually she's going to get sick of that crap and leave. Okay? So early stages of this, your wife just doesn't open it up as much, right? She doesn't tell you as much. Your kids don't tell you as much. Okay? Your kids talk to your wife more than you. That's my situation right now because I've done this for so long. Right? You get a distant relationship with your kids and with your wife. Okay. You don't have that physical, mental, emotional intimacy, you know. And then later on, and guys are like, well, where did this come from, right? But she's been asking for this for a long time, you know. She'll say, yeah, I've had enough. I want a separation. I want counseling. I want a divorce, right? Um, and she's probably asked for this lots of times and told you this lots of times. This gentleman, he wrote an article that said, my wife divorced me because I didn't do the dishes. And so yeah, like the invalidation triple threat is like, oh, that's so stupid, right? But what he points out is, yeah, it was because he'd done that so many times. Eventually she got sick of it. And that's, man, like I just, again, grateful for this insight, and adding it to the program is a really cool way to look at this pattern. But yeah, guys get surprised. They feel blindsided. What is she talking about? Like, this isn't anything big. I didn't cheat on her. I'm providing for my family. You know, I'm helping with kids. I'm doing everything I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. But it's this, right? This invalidation triple threat over and over. So it's like 1,000 paper cuts or the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? It's just that eventually it's enough, right? And then you're like, oh no, I'm going to change. But you've put like so many negative interactions that it's hard to come back from. Not that you can't, right? That's what I'm selling you with the program, is that you can come back from it, and you can. And you do need to change things. But yeah, sometimes guys come in and their wife has decided it's over. And even when they do change and understand this, it is too late. And that's hard. But at least now you know how to have good relationships. You stop doing this invalidation triple threat, right? So what do you do instead? First, stop doing it. Stop doing the invalidation triple threat. Instead, start trying to get into her shoes, right? Try to make the point better than she can herself. So after you listen to this podcast, it would be great for you to go to your wife and like find one of those little things, right? So maybe it's the toilet seat, right? And you go up to her and say, hey, you know what? I listened to this podcast today. Here's what I realized. Like, when I won't put the toilet seat down, I do 3 really problematic things. Like when I say to you, you shouldn't care about that. Okay, so then I tell you what you think is wrong. And it shouldn't make you feel sad that I do that. I tell you what you feel is wrong. Okay, and then I basically say, well, you know, I'm justified in doing this, and you know, I'm going to keep hurting you, even though you've told me it hurts you. Like, I'm basically telling you I'm going to keep hurting you, and it shouldn't hurt you, right? You should deal with it. So of course you're going to pull away from me. And by the way, now I'm going to start putting that toilet seat down, not because I necessarily care about it, but just to show you, like, you're important to me and I care about you. Man, if you go do that to her, that's making the point better than she can herself, right? That's a real apology. That's going to go miles for you, right? And look at all the ways you're doing that, right? See if there's other ways you can do that. Now, the other point here, and to this toilet seat is a good example, right? You don't have to agree, right? You don't have to agree, yeah, like, it's morally the right thing to put the toilet seat down. Like, you don't have to agree with that, right? But you can understand how someone might see things differently from you. Yeah, for her, that's important. That's the way I can show her I care. So why wouldn't I take a half second and put this down? That's an easy way to show my wife I care, right? It just shows that your heart has shifted to trying to be right about it to trying to care about your wife, okay? The other thing you can start doing is being with her and her emotions instead of trying to fix them, right? If she's sad, oh, don't be sad, right? Don't be scared. You don't need to be scared about that. Make a plan, right? No, just be with her. Yeah, that is scary. Let me sit with you for a while. That is sad. Let me sit with you for a while. Usually you don't need to fix those emotions, and she doesn't really want you to either. Okay? So just stay with her. So, and then just start showing her she's a priority in ways that matter. So maybe it's the toilet seat. Maybe it's organizing. Like for my wife, there's like a place where the kids keep their pencils that gets destroyed like all the time. I used to not care because I was in this invalidation triple threat, right? Of saying, well, she shouldn't care about that. Like, the kids are going to mess it up. Excuse me. Shouldn't matter to her, right? Deal with, like, choose more important things to deal with. But basically, again, what I'm saying here is, you know, yeah, it's important to you, but I don't care, right? And it's that not caring, and she's wrong for thinking that way, right? So yeah, eventually she pulls away. She doesn't like that. So instead, like, that's what I'm doing now. I'm like keeping an eye on that, making sure it stays clean. Why? So I can show her that she's important to me. And man, that doesn't take very much effort, but it's something that shows her I care, right? So what happens when you do this? So she starts feeling safer with you. She starts opening up to you more mentally and emotionally. Now what can happen, right, is if you come to her and say, hey, yeah, like I realized that toilet seat, I was telling you you're wrong, telling you your thoughts were wrong, your feelings were wrong, and then justifying myself and basically telling you I'm going to keep hurting you and you should just like, while telling you it shouldn't hurt you. I've been kicking you and telling you it shouldn't hurt you, and I'm so sorry. Yeah. Once you say that, man, she might start crying, honestly. And because you've like put it in a way that you're feeling, man, he got it. Like when I did this with my wife, that's what it was like. She's like, oh my gosh, like finally he gets what I've been saying all these years. Yeah, it was tough. She told me the other night, like, man, it's been years since I felt like really connected. That was hard to hear, but really important and good, right? And it's funny too, because you've heard me share lots of wins, and there have been lots of wins, and we've had good connection, and we have intimacy. That's gotten better over the years, but man, like I was missing it. I was missing it with this, and things have been so much better just over the past few days. And like this is like a lifestyle commitment for me, and something I want to make sure is ingrained in the program, really embedded in there strongly. So yeah, like wives open up, they open more physically, like even that day. So like I did a few things. She had asked me to take care of the chickens. So like I went and took care of the chickens, like made sure they were taken care of. And like that day, she gave me like a better hug than I had in a long time. Like you could sense the difference, you could feel it. Why? Because I'd made her important to me, right? Where before I might have, these stupid chickens, like who cares? Maybe she should just deal with it. That would have been my approach before. But instead this, it was like, oh, hey, this is the way I can show her she's important to me. Let me like go the extra mile, make sure this is done really well. And she responded great, right? Why? Because instead of telling her she was wrong for caring about something, I made it important to me. Okay, that showed her she was important to me. And not from that mosquito mode. Like that's the thing, because the mosquito man might do this, right? He might do these things, but for the wrong reason, because he wants attention, appreciation, affection, sex back, right? He could do these things. And I feel like that's kind of where I started the marriage. I was doing all this stuff, but for the wrong reasons. And then I kind of went to where I stopped doing it because I was very much on this, like, take care of your own emotions, I'm not responsible for your emotions, which there's truth to that, right? And now I feel like we're back in a good spot, right? Where it's like, oh, I can really go the extra mile and do nice things for her and consider her emotions and do these little things just because I care and because it matters to her. And so, yeah, I feel like it's, we're growing and it's good. And we're opening up more to each other. Oh, but I was saying, like, when you say this to her, she might say, oh my gosh, thank you. Also, here's some other things that hurt me. The toilet seat, yeah, but what hurts me more is when you talk about me to your family. Man, I really feel abandoned. So that's where you need to avoid the invalidation triple threat and just try to hear her and be like, yeah, I could see that, of course. Yeah. And then, I've told you that you should just deal with that and I should be first inside your family, kind of hurting you again and telling you it shouldn't hurt. She's like, yeah, thank you. It can just be such a life-changing, relationship-changing moment for you. So look, she's feeling valued, she's feeling loved, and now she's actually excited to be married to you instead of wondering how much more she can take, right? That's awesome. So in summary, notice and stop that invalidation triple threat immediately, okay? Which is telling her she's wrong or she's stupid in how she thinks. That's dumb to think I should put the toilet seat down. Telling her she's wrong about how she feels. Well, you shouldn't be upset by that, right? You should know I love you even though I don't put the toilet seat down, okay? And then justifying what you did. Well, yeah, I'll leave it up because it shouldn't matter to you. In other words, I'm going to keep hurting you because, you shouldn't be hurt by me hurting you. I'm going to toughen you up. I'm going to keep kicking you so you toughen up. Okay, maybe it does toughen her up, but that creates distance, right? Disconnection. And that's not a bad way to put it, right? She can become calloused, and now you don't have connection anymore. And that's what guys are complaining of, but they're the ones that have been kicking their wives, right? We're the ones that have been kicking our wives all these years. So then start trying to understand her. Start being with her in her emotions. Okay, start making her priority in ways that matter to her. Okay, so to do that, it does require spiritual, mental, and emotional strength, communication, and intimacy skills. Okay, so come learn all this and apply them daily in strong men, strong marriages. Because yeah, like these can be great moments. It takes rewiring of your brain. You need to catch these things. You need to be seeing them each day, seeing yourself slip into the old patterns, creating the new ones, practicing the new ones. And that's what we help you do in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. I say it's like years of therapy in 90 days. It really is. So visit strongmen.io or visit the link in the show notes and come join us. we'd love to have you really make these changes and create a marriage that you can be proud of, that your wife's excited about, that you're excited about. It's a great example for your kids. All right, man, stay strong, and we will see you next episode.